The boy Yuka doesn't expect his female disciples to all be pervs. They force him to bathe in the hot springs with them and constantly stay alert against any other woman who tries to get close to their master. All of his female disciples become his harem members, which shocks Yuka. The key point is that the harem keeps growing. It includes humans, elves, demi-humans, and even a goddess of death. Facing so many women every day, Yuka feels happy. Thanks to those bastards who betrayed him, Yuka is able to possess everything he shouldn't have had. Over the past 5 years, he and his teammates have defeated countless monsters, and each teammate earns a lot of money. Only Yuka gets the smallest share and ends up buried in massive debt. Yuka plays a support role in the team. He has to pay for potions and magic tools out of his own pocket, and every battle costs him a lot. However, his teammates don't appreciate his efforts. They believe that a support role contributes very little to defeating monsters. The worst part is, those bastards even mock Yuka for being greedy despite being useless. Especially the leader, Simon. He's the most hypocritical of them all. He even claims that he only took Yuka in because of their childhood friendship. Yuka hates those bastards to the core. He goes to the Adventurers Guild and speaks with a staff member named Mommer, planning to find a suitable team to join. Just then, a girl suddenly hugs Yuka. It's Marina, his sword mage disciple. Lady Luck finally begins to smile on Yuka. He has just lost a bunch of bastard teammates, only to gain a team full of beautiful girls. Rain the Mage and Silk the Dark Elf, like Marina, are also Yuka's disciples. The 3 girls have just formed a D-rank adventurer team. They sincerely hope Yuka will join them, but they worry that their team's low rank might not be attractive enough for him. It turns out their worries are unnecessary. Although Yuka's former teammates are A-rank adventurers, don't forget that they're also a group of bastards. Yuka himself is a B-rank adventurer officially certified by the Adventurers Guild. Challenging low-level quests is easy for a B-rank adventurer leading a group of D-rank adventurers. It is just the perfect setup for Yuka to enjoy adventuring while taking it easy, like a vacation. They soon embark on their first adventure. Yuka takes the initiative and assigns Marina as the scout. As an alchemist, he possesses a wide variety of magical tools, one of which is a magic oil lamp that can reveal hidden traps. His disciples gasp in awe. It's rare for them to encounter such high-level adventurer. Now with Yuka's support, the girls feel much more at ease. In the first floor battle of the dungeon, Yuka instantly casts 3 different physical enhancement spells on Marina. The monsters, weakened by Yuka's debuff magic, stumble and fall, giving Marina the perfect chance to strike. With a single sweep of her blade, she eliminates all the enemies. Thanks to Yuka's buffs, this low-ranked adventurer team displays overwhelming combat power. The girls are encouraged and become more coordinated, defeating the monsters on the second floor in just a few turns. At this moment, Yuka begins casting mana restoration magic on Rain, like a mobile supply station, continuously restoring various statuses for his teammates. The disciples continue to be a dungeon by Yuka. Most adventurers can only eat portable and preserved bread in the dungeon, but Yuka's magic waste pouch stores a variety of cooking tools, and he prepares a lunch for his disciples. The girls have never imagined that they could eat freshly cooked food in such a harsh dungeon environment. After they have a rest, everyone's stamina is fully recovered. The following adventure goes smoothly, and they reach the boss on the 4th floor of the dungeon. Yuka casts a slow spell on the enemy, and Marina seizes the opportunity to cut off the boss head. They originally planned to leave after collecting the ores on the 4th floor, but the amount turns out to be much lower than expected. In order to prove how valuable he is to the team, Yuka suggests continuing to challenge the 5th floor of the dungeon. This time, he will take on the boss alone. Yuka takes out a magic device that can record video to document the battle for later review and study. Before the fight begins, he casts many buff spells on himself. This time, he faces a giant steel crab. Yuka instantly casts multiple debuff spells to break through the enemy's defense, then uses super gravity to crush the steel crab instantly. Marina is very excited and hugs Yuka again, nearly choking him. This adventurer team called Clover receives a generous reward on their first joint mission. In contrast, Simon's dungeon adventure is nowhere near as smooth. Simon thinks he can easily replace the useless Yuka with just anyone, but the battlefield goes completely out of control. The monsters they could have easily defeated now inflict heavy casualties. The mage Jamie is severely injured by monster bites, and the healer Camilla runs out of mana and can no longer provide healing. Even after retreating to a safe place and resting for a long time, Camilla still lacks the strength to heal Jamie. In the end, it is the newcomer Archer Cork who provides a healing potion, saving Jamie from death. At night, an ironic scene unfolds. Yuka and his teammates celebrate on the 2nd floor of the bar, while Simon and his team argue on the 1st floor. Everyone blames Cork, who feels very wronged. Cork angrily scolds Simon and the others for choosing an enemy that is too powerful and having no sense of combat. In the end, he decides to leave the team. At this moment, the bar plays a popular recent video, which is the footage of Yuka defeating the steel crab. Yuka's popularity is rapidly rising. As usual, the villain appears at this moment. Bezio, the son of the guild president, is lecherous and arrogant, and he finds Yuka. He demands that all members of the Clover become his women and threatens Yuka to leave the team immediately. After being refused, Bezio tries to kill Yuka but is knocked out by Yuka's magic. Yuka pays little attention to the guild president's foolish son and leaves the Clover to start their second mission. This time, they are unlucky, as a high-level monster with a horse's head appears. This high-level monster is very powerful in battle. Yuka decides to cover his teammates' retreat alone but is refused by his companions. Marina is knocked away by the monster's strike, and all of Yuka's debuff magic loses effect. The situation is very dangerous now, and if they're not careful enough, they will all die here. Yuka and Rain each unleash their strongest attack magic, finally breaking through the monster's defense. Empowered by Yuka's attack buff magic, Marina cuts off the monster's horse head with one strike. The bad news is that the monster's blood stains their clothes, so Yuka voluntarily leaves to give the girls space to wash up. Afterwards, they are summoned by Benwood, the Adventurers Guild president. The Clover proves their strength through this battle, and the three girls are collectively promoted to C-rank adventurers, while Yuka gets upgraded to A-rank adventurer. Additionally, there is an important matter. The sudden appearance of high-level monsters is very unusual. These monsters are bound by the dungeon's magic power, and once the binding disappears and the monsters invade, humanity will face extinction. This suspicion weighs heavily on everyone present. When Yuka returns to the inn, he encounters Simon. Many people only cherish those they've lost, and Simon is no exception. This time, he comes to order Yuka to rejoin the team. Although Simon is the one who needs Yuka's help more, he acts as if he's doing Yuka a favor. Yuka refuses Simon, saying that team is full of scum and not worth his return. Meanwhile, Bezio watches all of this from the shadows. Since Simon failed to recruit Yuka, his adventures suffer frequent setbacks. Due to too many mission failures, the team is about to be downgraded. The members numb themselves with alcohol every day, and blaming each other becomes a daily occurrence. Their morale is very low now. Only Jamie is an exception. She is deeply disappointed in her teammates. Compared to Simon, Yuka is like turning on a cheat mode. The Clover Adventurer team has recently completed missions frequently, and their savings have become quite substantial. They use the money to buy a villa as their base. Yuka is forced by his disciples to live together. Usually, in cohabitation, the girls are in more danger, but for Yuka, that doesn't apply. To protect his purity, Yuka is considering ordering a custom-made iron underwear. Amid the cheerful atmosphere, an unpleasant event occurs. Simon teams up with several high-level adventurer teams to explore the special class dungeon that Yuka most wants to challenge. Though using the pretext of helping Yuka fulfill his dream as bait, he still gets rejected. Yuka is furious that his efforts are never appreciated, and his disappointment in Simon has become irreparable. 2 weeks later, Benwood summons Yuka. More and more monsters are invading human territories, clearly indicating that something has gone wrong deep within the dungeon. Unfortunately, Simon and other adventurer teams' explorations have been total failures, and some teams have already chosen to withdraw. Benwood needs someone like Yuka, who is good at adapting, to explore the special class dungeon. This mission is even issued by the king himself. To persuade Yuka, Benwood even presents a very precious magic scroll that, once used, can instantly teleport the user out of the dungeon. At this moment, Mama recommends a temporary member, Nene, a ninja girl who happens to make up for Clover's lack of scouting ability. Their exploration goes very smoothly this time. The monsters they encounter are generally not very strong and can be defeated through teamwork. Soon after, they discover a treasure chest. Nene, who became a ninja after starting out as a thief, is skilled in unlocking and successfully opens the chest. Inside, they find not only a pile of gemstones, but also a ring and a black cube. The ring is helpful for mages, and Yuka instinctively helps Rain put it on. Rain, feeling as if she's being proposed to, becomes extremely shy. At this moment, they run into Simon's team. A fierce argument breaks out between the two adventurer teams. Simon tries to claim Yuka's loot but fails. His teammates then begin to launch personal abuses against Yuka's companions, even making racist remarks toward the dark elf. Silk! Yuka is furious and releases a powerful fighting aura, finally forcing Simon and his team to shut up. For now, the heated argument is quickly spread through a magic live streaming device. After the expedition ends, Simon receives a harsh reprimand from Benwood. Numerous complaints have been filed against him, and to prevent a war with the elves, the king himself issues an order demanding strict punishment for the incident. Simon's team not only faces the punishment of having their adventurer licenses revoked but may also be exiled from the country. He cannot understand how things have come to this. He walks alone in the rain, lost in thought. At this moment, Bezio suddenly appears and invites Simon to join forces to teach Yuka a lesson. Yuka is unaware that danger is approaching. He has just unlocked the secret of the black cube together with Marina. It transforms into a katana used by samurai, and the weapon seems to possess a will of its own. Recognizing Marina as its master, to test the weapon, the Clover begins their second dungeon expedition. For the first time inside the dungeon, they see the sky, the sun, and a grassy plain. This is no longer a confined space, and it closely resembles the world outside the dungeon. The members of the Clover immediately become alert, as none of them knows whether danger is lurking within the beautiful scenery. Next, they discover a house on the grassy plain. An old woman tells them the sun is about to set and invites them to rest inside for the night. Yuka remains cautious. He knows it's impossible for humans to live inside a dungeon, so he declines the invitation. The next moment, the sky darkens. The old woman transforms into a beautiful woman, and the house behind her turns into a massive castle. Her name is Persephone, and she's known by the nickname Goddess of Death. Persephone has lived for over 1,000 years, taking pleasure in toying with human lives. No one knows the true extent of her power. Realizing the enemy is unbeatable, Yuka promises that after his death, he will serve Persephone as a soul-bound servant in exchange for the safe departure of the Clover. Persephone takes an interest in the young man and accepts the deal. Although the Clover successfully escapes, a mysterious tattoo appears on Yuka's face, which is Persephone's curse. Yuka tells his teammates that he imitated a deal made by the protagonist in a biography with Persephone, which temporarily allows them to avoid the fate of dying. But the problem is not completely solved. They are now trapped in the dungeon and must recover to their best condition as soon as possible before considering an escape route. In this critical time, Yuka no longer avoids closeness because if anyone gets separated, they could die in the dungeon. So that night, the 5 members of the Clover team sleep together. They overlook the most important thing, which is no one is keeping watch. When Yuka wakes up again, the entire Clover team has already been tied up by Simon. The 4 girls are put to sleep by Camilla's sleeping magic, and Rain is also fitted with a magic device provided by Bezio, which would put her completely under Simon's control. Simon takes out a confession document and forces Yuka to sign it. He tries to prove by fabricating evidence that he was coerced by Yuka into making the discriminatory remarks against the elves. Simon is confident that Yuka will compromise because he now holds Yuka's most treasured companion hostage. If Yuka refuses, Simon will immediately take away Rain's purity. Many times, human nature is far more terrifying than the demons imagined by humans. Yuka has no other choice. He is willing to sacrifice himself for his teammates. Just then, a collapse occurs inside the dungeon, and Jamie uses the magic cube to protect the Clover team. Simon, Barry, and Camilla are seriously injured from the fall. Taking advantage of the situation, Jamie retrieves the magic items and returns them to Yuka, and she also awakens the 4 girls of the Clover team. Yuka intends to use the retreat scroll to leave the dungeon with everyone, but Simon is unaware of Yuka's plan and takes Rain hostage. Jamie struggles with Simon to save her. In the end, the scroll activates forcibly and only takes the Clover team away. The remaining people are surrounded by a group of orcs. Yuka feels guilty for not being able to save Jamie, and at the same time, he really wants to know why Jamie suddenly helped them. Then Benwood brings news that a distress signal from Jamie was detected deep inside the dungeon. Yuka asks Benwood to help get a retreat scroll, insisting he must return to the dungeon to rescue Jamie. Benwood refuses Yuka's request, saying the depths of the dungeon are extremely dangerous and every exploration carries a risk of death. Yuka feels very helpless and has no choice but to first remove the magic collar from Rain's neck. He discovers that the curse left by Persephone contains several kinds of dark magic, and it is precisely by relying on these magics that he managed to break Rain's binding. At this moment, Bezio suddenly appears. He thinks his plan has succeeded and is ready to make all the female members of the Clover team his slaves. However, he gets beaten up and then has a magic collar put on him. Yuka doesn't kill the bastard right away. Instead, he casts a curse on Bezio. If Bezio ever dares to have lewd thoughts about Rain again, he will be burned to death by fire magic. At night, Lucent, the leader of an A-rank adventurer team, finds Yuka. He has always valued his companions. After learning that Yuka is preparing to risk his life again for his teammates, Lucent gives him one of his treasured exit scrolls. After that, the Clover team begins exploring the dungeon once again. They go all out slaying monsters, and each of them shows their best condition. When they finally find Jamie, Simon appears alongside her. That bastard survives thanks to the dark potion given by Bezio, but he's no longer human and has completely turned into a monster. Simon hates Yuka for turning him into what he is now. Just like before, that bastard never reflects on himself and always blames others for everything. A battle between Yuka and Simon is now inevitable, but what happens next is beyond everyone's expectations. Simon's severed limbs regenerate instantly. He has turned into an undead creature, a monster that cannot die. Simon vows to kill all of Yuka's companions as revenge. This makes Yuka realize that everything is beyond saving. To avoid dragging anyone else into this, he must put his childhood friend to death. Yuka infuses his attack with a curse, causing Simon's body to instantly mutate into a mass of flesh. The flesh ball clings tightly to the ground, and Simon is unable to move now. Yuka successfully rescues Jamie, while Simon becomes food for the other monsters. After leaving the dungeon, Jamie confesses to Yuka the reason she chose to help. She became an adventurer to earn money to treat her younger brother's illness. By chance, she discovered that the medicine Yuka gave her brother was extremely expensive, which filled her with guilt. Unlike Simon, Jamie had never truly been malicious. So in the end, out of gratitude and a desire for redemption, she chose to help Yuka. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Nene officially becomes a member of the Clover Adventurer team. Just as the team's overall strength finishes improving, Yuka receives a new mission. This time, the task is highly challenging. Recently, many strange phenomena have appeared across the continent, and the most concerning among them is a newly emerged dungeon. The Clover has been commissioned by a neighboring country, and their objective is to investigate the threat level of this mysterious new dungeon. After checking into the inn, they discover that it actually has a hot spring. Upon hearing that the hot spring is good for the skin, the girls of the Clover team immediately jump in to enjoy a soak. The most surprising part is they bathe in it both day and night. It turns out that whether it's Earth or another world, all girls treat beauty as their top priority. The day of the dungeon exploration soon arrives. Maniela, the local Adventurers Guild leader, tells the Clover team that this mission is somewhat special. Other teams will also enter the dungeon, and in the end, the champion will be decided based on the rewards each adventurer team gathers. Thus, the Clover team enters the dungeon full of anticipation. This exploration does not go smoothly, as they encounter a special monster. The enemy's body is made of chains, possessing high resistance to both magic and physical attacks. The Clover team spends a lot of time before finally achieving victory. While collecting the remains of the chain monster, Yuka finds a ring that can't be identified. Encountering so many abnormal phenomena from the very start makes everyone in the Clover team nervous. Next, they find the chain monster's lair, which is cleaner than many people's homes and doesn't look like a monster's dwelling at all. The diary of the chain monster is filled with unfamiliar writing, so they have to take it out of the dungeon to find someone who can decipher it. The strange phenomena continues. The Clover team discovers a city inside the dungeon that looks exactly like a human city, but there isn't a single person. Yuka senses something is wrong and prepares to retreat. Just then, an old man named Loge appears. He says some cryptic things and calls Yuka by his full name, as if he has known him for a long time. The next moment, Loge vanishes. Right after he disappears, the Clover team finds a girl who has fainted nearby. After leaving the dungeon, Yuka reports to Maniela. The live broadcast footage captured nothing of Loge. Researchers suspect that the entire Clover team fell into a hallucination and Loge doesn't actually exist. The strange girl remains unconscious and cannot provide any information. While Yuka's investigation hits a dead end, trouble arises on Rain's side. Rain is the illegitimate daughter of a noble family. After birth, she and her mother were expelled from the family. Later, her mother fell ill and passed away. Rain then began wandering, feeling no attachment to her family. Now, an elder named Crowder from the family suddenly sends a letter, saying that the neighboring kingdom's Prince Mastoma specifically demands Rain as his concubine. Crowder forces Rain to marry immediately to contribute to the family's revival. Yuka burns the letter. As long as he is by Rain's side, even the Demon King can't force her, not to mention the old man Crowder. During their adventures together, Yuka and Rain have fallen in love. They decide that after finishing their current mission, they will get married as soon as possible. The Clover team embarks on their second exploration of the newly appeared dungeon, where they encounter worm-like monsters. Nene is nearly swallowed whole, and when one of these worm monsters stared at her, her whole body stiffened and she couldn't move. Yuka casts a spell to temporarily blind the monsters. During close combat, Marina makes a new discovery. Both the chain monsters and the worm monsters give her a strange sense, as if they are somehow related to humans. When Marina chops at the pillar that the worm monster clings to, she gets the feeling she's cutting into a human hand. The members of the Clover team begin to form a wild theory that the city inside the dungeon actually used to have people living in it, but they have now transformed into various monsters, buildings, and objects. As they continue their exploration, they encounter Loge again. The old man remains mysterious and strange. He offers no clear explanation but simply tells the team to uncover the truth on their own. Yuka has no choice but to leave the dungeon once again. After long experiments, researchers find that the monster corpses contain substances close to those of humans. This further confirms Yuka's theory that the residents of that city have transformed into various monsters and objects. Also, the adventurers who entered the dungeon at the same time as Yuka begin to experience physical discomfort. Strangely, viewers who watch their live broadcast show similar symptoms. This newly appeared dungeon is more terrifying than any previous one, seemingly invading the human world in a peculiar way. At this moment, Nene suddenly informs Yuka that the unconscious girl has awakened. The girl's body emits a golden light, and she calls herself the Golden Priestess. She tells Yuka that there isn't much time left, and this world is facing the danger of being eliminated. The root of all this lies in the abandoned city inside the dungeon, and Yuka must find Loge to understand the truth. After the Golden Priestess finishes speaking, the golden light around her fades, and she turns back into a human girl Nibiruun. Nibiruun has only vague memories of everything that just happened, and she cannot clearly explain what exactly occurred to her body. Yuka reports all the known information to Maniela. As the situation is very serious, Maniela introduces Yuka to Betrayal, a marquis of Yuka's country and also the director of the Research Institute. Upon learning about Yuka's discoveries, Betrayal becomes very serious and reveals the research achievements of 2 generations at the Institute. The dungeon is like a parallel world. When 2 parallel worlds come into contact, an elimination phenomenon is triggered, and eventually only one world can continue to exist as the main one. Betrayal has a feeling that this time, the elimination triggered by the contact between the 2 worlds contains elements of deliberate manipulation. But this is only a speculation, more than an unverifiable premonition. Betrayal has a more concrete task to give Yuka. From all the current signs, Yuka is the chosen hero, and the world needs his protection. Yuka is blackmailed by Betrayal. He's told that if he doesn't accept a certain mission, the rest of his Clover party will be sent in his place. Knowing his friends can't handle it alone, Yuka is forced to comply. Joining Yuka's Clover party on this mission are 3 other A-rank adventurer teams. Zakhard, the leader of one, is openly hostile, jealous that Yuka's party is filled with beautiful women. Thankfully, the other 2 leaders are on Yuka's side: Morona, who leads an all-female party, and Lucent, who once provided Yuka with a valuable escape scroll. Yuka and Lucent agree to team up, with a special focus on protecting a girl named Nibiruun. She was once possessed by the Golden Sorceress, and her presence might be the key to their success. Yuka's instincts prove correct. The sight of Nibiruun causes a figure named Loge to become surprisingly cooperative, and the massive, sealed doors finally swing open. Yuka and Lucent lead their parties inside, where they discover a library. Within its books, they uncover most of the truth behind the dungeon and decide to report their findings immediately. The city within the dungeon originates from another world, one that was on the verge of annihilation after colliding with a parallel universe. To save his people, the king of that world created a powerful spell to transport them all to safety. But the magic was imperfect, and in the process, every citizen was transformed into a monster. To prevent their own world from meeting the same fate, they must destroy the dungeon. But before Yuka can tackle that, a new problem arises. A man named Crowder attempts to forcibly marry Rain off to a neighboring prince, Mastoma, for political gain. Rain, having no respect for Crowder, teams up with Yuka to send him packing. Before the big dungeon raid, Yuka gets a lucky break. Worried he's overworked, his party members arrange a trip to a hot spring and insist they all bathe together. Yuka, trying to be a gentleman, wears a blindfold, but the girls don't miss the opportunity to tease him relentlessly. The relaxation is cut short by bad news. Zakhard has kidnapped Nibiruun and charged into the dungeon with his own agenda. The 3 adventurer parties, including Yuka's, quickly reassemble. Their new mission is to rescue Nibiruun and, while they're at it, destroy the dungeon for good. As they give chase, Morona and Lucent fend off monsters, allowing Yuka's Clover party to push forward. Yuka once again meets Loge, who reveals his true identity. He is the prince from the other world, hoping to atone for his father's actions. He also explains that Nibiruun is his niece, and the key to solving the crisis. Bound by a curse, Loge can't reveal everything, leaving Yuka to solve the final puzzle himself. The fight kicks off with Zakhard using Nibiruun to control the otherworldly king, granting his own team a massive power boost. Yuka counters by casting his own powerful enhancement spells on his party. Though Zakhard's team is quickly defeated, their victory is short-lived as the fallen adventurers suddenly mutate into powerful monsters. This is the price for accepting the dungeon's power. They now possess incredible magical and physical resistance, along with rapid regeneration. The Clover party's attacks are no longer effective. Just as things look bleak, Lucent and Morona arrive as reinforcements. The tide turns once more, with some of the continent's strongest parties now fighting as one. They begin to overwhelm the mutated monsters, with their allies holding the line. Yuka's party can finally focus on the king himself. This creature is the most powerful foe Yuka has faced since Persephone. By borrowing power from Persephone, Yuka ultimately defeats the king, granting him a peaceful release. With the battle won, only one thing is left to do: For safety, Yuka sends everyone away except for Nibiru and Loge. He then unleashes a powerful magic circle, completely destroying the dungeon. Everything from the other world vanishes, except for Nibiru, who is protected by a blessing Loge had placed upon her. When Yuka and Nibiru finally emerge, they discover 2 weeks have passed. Yuka is hit with terrible news. During his long absence, Crowder tricked Rain into leaving with him by falsely claiming he had a way to get Yuka back. Yuka tracks Rain down at Prince Mastoma's residence, but the confrontation he expects never happens. Instead, Mastoma orders Crowder to be punished. The conniving man had lied, presenting Rain as single and bound by family obligations. Mastoma, however, did his own research and discovered Rain was in love with Yuka, and he wisely chose not to make an enemy of a powerful hero. Mastoma, seeking to boost his reputation in his bid for the throne, asks for Yuka's help to conquer another dungeon. Yuka accepts the job, figuring it's a smart move to have a prince in his debt. During the downtime, Yuka's luck continues as he's cornered into another hot spring visit, this time with Marina. She makes a mysterious request of him. We'll have to see what that's about later. Of course, the other girls aren't about to let Marina have him all to herself, and what started as a private bath quickly becomes a party of 6. Before long, Yuka's party grows again as Jamie officially joins the Clover party. Now constantly surrounded by 6 beautiful women, Yuka has become the envy of every man in town. While traveling to rendezvous with Mastoma, the girls of the party decide to confess to Yuka all at once. They've realized he and Rain are basically a couple and fear they'll lose their chance with him if they don't act now. Yuka is completely flustered. He has the strength to fight a demon king, but he can't handle a group confession. Fortunately for him, a convenient interruption saves the day. The moment the Clover party reaches their destination, they're ambushed by bandits. Yuka's party easily captures the bandits and turns them over to Mastoma. The prince explains that the attack was connected to the royal succession. Mastoma's older brother is trying to sabotage his dungeon expedition and has devised numerous schemes to prevent Yuka from helping. But a far greater problem is brewing. While scouting near the dungeon, Yuka discovers that its internal magic is out of control. Hordes of monsters have broken loose and are now flooding into the outside world. Yuka rushes this intel to Mastoma, and they decide on a course of action. Mastoma will formally request military aid from Yuka's kingdom to confront the crisis head-on. What follows is a catastrophe of terrifying proportions. Black, dome-like barriers begin to form over dungeons across the land, and they're still growing. Benwood reveals a critical secret. The same thing happened 16 years ago. He explains that he was part of the hero's party, and alongside Yuka's uncle, he sealed the highest level dungeon, the origin point of all these disasters. Now, 16 years later, the disaster has returned, either because the seal has weakened or for some other unknown reason. The only way forward is to travel to that ultimate dungeon and find out exactly what is going on. And so, the toughest battle of the series begins. As the party pushes deeper into the dungeon, they're not just fighting off monsters, they're hit with a psychic attack that traps them in an illusion. The illusion preys on Yuka's deepest desires, showing him a world where Simon and all his former teammates are actually kind to him. Fighting back tears, Yuka manages to see through the temptation and break free. He remembers his reality is just as fulfilling. He has a great team and a wife now, and he's truly happy. Yuka's conviction allows him to push forward, and his strength of character starts attracting some seriously powerful allies to his side. Each of these new allies is a hero in their own right, but here, they willingly take on a supporting role to protect Yuka. As Yuka leads the team deeper into the dungeon, a sudden darkness engulfs both him and Rain. Yuka is thrown into another illusion, but this one is a nightmare. He's forced to watch in horror as his own mother is consumed by the darkness. Just as he's about to lose himself to despair, Rain pulls him back to reality. This dungeon is different. It's not just a test of strength, but a brutal challenge of one's mental fortitude. Finally, Yuka reaches the deepest part of the dungeon, and there, he finds his uncle, Saga. Saga was the leader of the previous generation's party of heroes. He's been missing all these years because he was here, studying the Abyss Gate at the dungeon's very end. Now, uncle and nephew will team up for the final challenge. This battle was incredibly brutal. Many years ago, Saga had placed a powerful seal at the end of the labyrinth, but now, that seal has loosened, and a giant dragon has emerged, bringing with it a horde of high-level monsters. Many of Yuka's companions were severely wounded, and tragically, even Saga died in this fight. The only good news is that by combining everyone's strength, they finally managed to take down the giant dragon. The bad news? Someone still needed to close the labyrinth's gate, and doing so would very likely cost them their life. Yuka insisted on being the one to make the sacrifice, even activating a retreat scroll to try and send his companions away. But, in an unexpected twist, Nibiru used her magic to teleport Yuka away instead, becoming the one to make that ultimate sacrifice. Everyone was deeply saddened. Even though they had known Nibiru for a short time, her kindness left a lasting impression. And just like that, Nibiru closed the gate, finally bringing an end to the crisis. Afterward, Yuka set sail, beginning his harem life with a group of wives. Congrats! You've just watched another classic anime review on my channel. This one's a pretty traditional Japanese harem anime, where the male lead gets exiled and then starts his harem life. What makes it a bit different is that the male lead isn't too dumb. It also throws in elements of power struggles, suspense, and sacrifice, so its overall quality isn't completely terrible. It's definitely a decent watch for some casual entertainment when you're bored. Alright, that wraps up this video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Loads more anime reviews are here to help you pass the time.